The Dutch Grand Prix is unquestionably the worst race that Mercedes has had to endure this season. The team only managed to score 8 points in a weekend where a podium was easily possible. However, with the Italian Grand Prix coming up this weekend, fortunes for Mercedes are getting better and better, as a thorough data analysis shows that the W14 might be well suited for the Temple of Speed, which a lot of us did not expect beforehand. Not only that, team principal Toto Wolff has dropped a clue regarding a major change coming to the upcoming race at Monza, which both of his drivers did sort of confirm, which makes the Italian race weekend much more interesting for the Silver Arrows. That begs the question, where actually in the pecking order will be the Mercedes cars around Monza? Well, stick around to find out. When the teams went into the summer break, Mercedes were the happier side, being second on the constructors' tally, having a sizable gap on third-placed Aston Martin. But the Dutch Grand Prix has increased the tension once more, as Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso are again back on the podium, cutting down the gap between Mercedes and Aston Martin by 10 points. Hamilton made a recovery drive after getting eliminated in Q2 during qualifying, while Russell had to retire from the race after having contact with Lando Norris, which resulted in a puncture. The Silver Arrows could have had more, if not for their poor choice of strategy during the race start, as not pitting for intermediates was a strategic blunder, which both Brits were not a big fan of. Nonetheless, Mercedes has now a tough situation to deal with, as the points gap between themselves and their customer team is now down to just 40 points. It has really been an up and down season for Mercedes, as good practice sessions have been translated into poor qualifying performances and recovery drives during the actual race. The real issue was that the W14 was not delivering the performance the drivers expect from the machine. A key factor for that being the case is down to the recent shuffle in staff at the Silver Arrows camp, with the likes of James Vowles and Loic Serra. Vowles was the head of strategy at Mercedes, and we saw his masterclass talent in action, like the 2021 Spanish Grand Prix. He left the team for the team principal role at Williams, and we have seen how good of a job he has done so far. And the Dutch GP last week shows how big of a hole Vowles has left in the team, as the strategic blunder would not have happened if James was present behind Mercedes' doors. Anyway, James Allison seemingly is working with thin resources to provide massive improvements to the W14, and that has resulting in the chances of Mercedes once again returning to their championship-winning ways. When talking about the team's future plans, team boss Toto Wolff went on to say, "The situation is never one person or one department. It is the communications between driver, pit wall, strategy, weather, and then all of us taking decisions. That was absolutely subpar from all of us, and that includes me. It's good when it hurts. When it stings, it sticks. It's annoying because the car had really good pace, and then from there on, it was just recovering as well as we could. I'd rather have good pace, a fast race car, and a mediocre result, even if it hurts, but it's still bittersweet because the result is just really bad. It could have been, but that doesn't count in our sport." Even though the Dutch Grand Prix did not go the way Mercedes had hoped for, the Italian Grand Prix might be having better prospects, as Monza seems to be suiting the W14 much better than we had previously anticipated. Wolff believes the car's development is following the proper path this time out, with James Allison controlling the technical helm, and the Austrian has not given up hope on upgrades yet, as a threat from its customer team for second place in the constructors' standings is still in play, which is worth millions of dollars in prize money. The first win, not the race win, but a moral win that Mercedes has been able to get from the race at Zandvoort, is that Hamilton is finally happy about how the W14 is performing. According to the 7-time world champion, the W14 had the pace to fight Max Verstappen for the race win, if every other aspect had fallen out in the proper order. But a dismal qualifying and poor strategic options only allowed the Brit to fight for P6 at the end. It must be said, Red Bull's dominance is not only with how Max is piloting the RB19, it also is behind the scenes, how the team is approaching strategic options, which Mercedes failed to achieve at Zandvoort, the first for this season. But the changing conditions during the Grand Prix led the Silver Arrows to make a gamble, have the slick tires on, avoid 2 pit stops, and eke out the transition phase. Expectations were high for Mercedes at Zandvoort. Though the team did disappoint a bit there, they are not unprepared, as there were new parts last week, and there are new parts coming to Monza. A revised floor edge with a reduced span forward floor edge wing was introduced, which is primarily designed to reduce losses and to improve the flow to the rear of the car, to increase downforce generated around the car's rear. Furthermore, Mercedes has changed the mirror profiles to improve the airflow to the rear of the car and in turn increase the rear wing load. A beam wing revision also was introduced that has been implemented on the W14 and is doing the same function as the previous mentioned parts. With these changes, the W14 definitely had the speed, but bad luck and poor decision-making transpired into a race which the team would want to forget sooner rather than later. Red Bull might have the upper hand in terms of one-lap pace still, but with the DRS advantage not being as big as it was back at Jeddah, and with Monza being a very low downforce circuit, it seems though we have a very interesting race up ahead. Hamilton was very happy after the Dutch GP, and mentioned that there were lots of positives for the team to take from that weekend. When talking about this matter, the former world champion went on to say, "I think today was a great example of never give up, We've got work to do for sure, but there were times today where the car was much better today. There were points where I was as quick as Verstappen today. It didn't start off that well, but I'm happy with the drive that I did to get back to the points and get 6th. I overtook a bunch of people, and to start 13th, I was dead last at one point. So, to get back up to 6th, I'm happy with that." Zandvoort is in the past, and now we have to look towards Monza. One interesting fact is from the Belgian Grand Prix, where the top speed between the Red Bull and Mercedes were not that huge, implying that the team has been able to dump out a lot of drag from where they at during the season's start. That genuinely gives me hope for a Mercedes top 3 fight at Monza, as it seems the W14 is very well suited for the track nicknamed as the Temple of Speed. While we are yet to see a competitive Mercedes car up front at this term of technical regulations, there is still a very big question mark to be answered. That is, whether or not the W14 will act as it did on the last race. This was a question raised by Mike Elliott, as implied that week in, week out, the team does not know exactly how the car performs. Elliott also highlighted the difficulty of predicting the performance of their rivals, as he went on to say. So Monza is a very different circuit to Zandvoort. Zandvoort is pretty much maximum downforce. Monza is the lowest downforce circuit of the year, and therefore we will go down on wing level, so that will drop downforce and it'll drop drag and it'll change the balance of the car quite a bit. So we're working in the simulator this week, try and get that balance right and trying to extract the best performance we can in Monza. As for whether we will be quick or not quick there, I think it's always really difficult to predict with Monza because it's so different to the other circuits. It's not in your own performance you've got to be able to predict, but you've also be able to predict the performance of your competitors, and that's obviously near impossible. So fingers crossed we have a good race this weekend, that we deliver the performance that's there in the car and hopefully get a good result. Mercedes is desperately looking forward to a great race in Monza. What seems to be a major plus for the team is the latest report that Hamilton has reportedly signed a contract with the Silver Arrows, one that would see him race with the team for 2 more years at least. With that out of the way, the team would want to show their hand at Monza to prove where the team actually is in the pecking order. And with the W14 seemingly suiting the Monza circuit better, at least on paper, the team would hope to translate a dismal Dutch GP into a victorious Italian Grand Prix. But what do you guys think? Can Mercedes actually turn up with a good performing W14 at Monza? Where do you think Mercedes are in the pecking order around the Temple of Speed? Very much into your thoughts and perspectives in the comments section down below. And on your way down, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified of our future uploads, to keep yourselves up to date about the 2023 Formula One season.